कालीकुर्चसमायुक्तमायाकोडोपदेशतः प्रणवार्थप्रबोधिन्यौ नमामि गुरुपादुके श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः क्रीं मात्रे नमः नमः सदसे Namaskaram to one and all. Today we are starting a new series on Nityananda, and this is going to be entirely about the documents that he has submitted when he tried to get the separate country status from United Nations. These documents have been released previously in the media through Republic TV, but they have not been discussed or decimated in detail in order to understand the real danger that which these documents are posting. These are very big documents in terms of pages and in terms of size. So I think instead of usually reading it like this on my mobile, I will be more comfortable reading it on my screen by turning this way. So if I'm please bear with me while I'm turning like this and reading the documents. So here we go. This is the name of the document: Hindu Holocaust, the Untold Story. 10 years of organized systematic persecution on His Divine Holiness Paramahamsa Nityananda. In just 10 years, more than 50 life attacks on His Divine Holiness. So this is the cover page of the document, cover of the document. So this is going to be the whole narrative which he is using in his Hindu Holocaust videos, and this is going to be the theory. There are certain concepts, basic concepts on which they are building this narrative, and we will be seeing the preface today. If possible, we will go into some of the chapters, and this is a huge document that is running for 742 pages. Anyways, I am not going to read out the whole thing on video. It will be a very long video if we do that, and we'll be wasting a lot of time. So I will be publishing the main portions of the document like preface, and wherever salient features, main points are there, we will be going through them. So this is the preface of the document. So I am turning here to read. The grand narrative is the truthful story of persecution on a spiritual leader, Guru, and his community, a minority subsect of Hinduism, by the Hindu extremist militant terrorist forces. Now, the very first line has a word which is contradicting with his whole message of reviving the entire Hindu Dharma. Here they are identifying themselves as his and his community, a minority subsect of Hinduism. What do you mean by minority subsect of Hinduism? And is there any specific attack going on any minority subsect of Hinduism for that matter? For example, let us say the Srividya community of Tamil Nadu can be called as a minority subsect of Hinduism. Is this correct? There is nothing called as minority subsect unless until you want to demarcate it in terms of caste. There is no minority subsect at all in terms of spirituality. Traditionally it has not been there, logically it cannot be there, and practically it is not there. It is not like if one guru is coming, then all his disciples belong to one particular community which has to be either accepted or not accepted by the major Hindu community. It is not like that. Whoever is the spiritual guru and whoever is the spiritual disciple, if you are saying, let us say I am the disciple of so and so guru, you will be considered only as a spiritual disciple by the other master. And if you need any guidance, then he will be providing you the guidance if he is from the same sampradaya as you. If he is from a different sampradaya, the guru will simply say, actually you are not from my sampradaya, so I will not be able to assist you here. So this is how the system works. But also another contradiction here is that Nityananda is claiming himself to be the pontiff of Hinduism, of the entire Sanatana Dharma. He is the supreme pontiff. This is what he is claiming. Now, in the start of the document, they are clearly mentioning we are a minority subsect of Hinduism by the Hindu extremist militant terrorist forces. So many adjectives. Hindu extremist militant terrorist forces. These forces are extreme in that they want one single guruless ideology of Hinduism which they can control exclusively. So this is the major complaint. The premise of the entire thing is going to be built on this one single statement that is, there is a group in Hinduism which does not want gurus, and they want to have one ideology of Hinduism which they can control exclusively, and there are names mentioned later on as to who is the group, what are the various forces involved, who are the people involved, top names of the people. This is dynamic information, this is dynamite. This information has to be analyzed properly in order to see who Nityananda is considering as his enemies and whom Nityananda wants the entire world to consider as the enemies of the Sanatana Dharma system. Modi ji's name is there. Let me give you a small preview, small trailer. Okay, we will see how this whole nefarious plot has turned out. And please remember this, again and again I am insisting, he is not a joker. He is not just a fellow who is going to take away your money from you. He is trying to create a huge schism, a huge breakup inside India, a huge destruction in India, wherein the persons who are following the Guru will alienate themselves from the organic Hindu community. This is what he wants. And for this he is saying the forces are extreme in that they want one single guruless ideology of Hinduism. Who told this? Who is this? The Gurus are the backbone of the Hindu Sanatana Dharma. Without the Gurus, spiritual development cannot happen. You can live the normal life, dharmic life of a Hindu without a Guru. There is no problem with that. You don't want a Guru to tell you to be honest. You don't want a Guru to tell you not to rape another woman. So this thing is basic human tendency, and that too along with the strong dharma in the blood, it will carry on. But when a person wants liberation, which is the purpose of this birth, then a Guru is needed. And that is supported by all the Hindu organizations. Some of the Hindu organizations have even been formed by sadhus and gurus of India, and they mutually support one another so strongly, and that is the only reason why the Gurus are safe in India. The names that he is going to give, the organizations that he is going to list, those are the very same organizations which are protecting the Gurus of traditional India. They will stand against Gurus who are fake. They will stand against these yoga merchants. They will stand against these people who are simply trying to use Hinduism to make money, and they will stand against people like Nityananda. And so he is trying to twist the narrative, and he is trying to turn the whole plate around and to show to the world that, and this is not a normal document. This is not something that has been created like Nityananda, this one Jnana Pattadi, or this is not like Avatar Shastra. This is not something that has been created for brainwashing more people, or this is not something that has been created simply for circulating between the people, between those who are believing or those who are on the fringe of believing him. It is not for feeling good about your Guru. That is not the purpose of this document. This document is a part of the series of documents which have been submitted to the United Nations to show that India is a land where a Hindu Guru is not able to live. The Indian government, the Indian judiciary system, the Indian police system, and the Indian media, the general Indian public, the normal Hindu leaders, all of them are actually trying to kill the Gurus of India. This is the highest order of treason that can happen against this country, because the entire system of our freedom struggle, starting from that, Gandhi was a Guru. He took the grab of a Guru. He taught people to do Ramanama Japa. He taught people to do fasting. His wisdom was Satyagraha. His sadhana was Satyagraha. He taught people how to do that. Aurobindo was a Guru. Swami Vivekananda was a Guru. Subramanya Shiva was a Guru. All of these people were Gurus, and he is saying now that a Hindu Guru is not able to live in this country because of the very same forces which are protecting them. This is a huge allegation. This is a huge accusation against the entire Indian government. Wake up. I am telling in his own style. Everybody has to understand what is happening, and I am going to read this document to you. Continue reading. And he is giving a narrative here. Sanatana Hindu Dharma stands on three pillars: temples and temple-based communities, Gurukuls, ancient Hindu education system, and the Guru, the living embodiment of original Hindu ideology. To digest the Hindu minority ethnic community, the strong pillar of their existence, their ideology, their identity, the Guru is attacked. Now, The pillars that he is, in a genocide, terrorism, foreign mercenary tribes demolished the temples and destroyed the temple communities, the first pillar. So, here he is speaking about the Muslim invasion, probably, because there is no other genocide and terrorist activity. Foreign mercenary tribes, they demolished the temples and destroyed the temple communities, the first pillar. Later, organized by greedy merchants, destroyed the Gurukul education system, the second pillar, and made India into their colonial empire. Both these forces were well aided by the native extreme Hindu militant forces. The commanders of barbarian forces were often Hindus. The kings who signed treaties with the merchants are Hindus themselves. Finally, now, when both pillars are destroyed, extremist Hindu militant forces want to destroy the Guru, that is the last pillar. So, in this narrative, we need to, this is a huge web of lies. It will take time. You have to be patient with me in order to understand this nefarious ploy, in order to understand what Nityananda is trying to do with this narrative. You have to be patient with me, otherwise there is no other go. It will take hours and hours. I am willing to dedicate those, and hopefully you are willing to dedicate this, and you are hopefully trying to take this information to media. I have never asked for media exposure. Now I am asking for media exposure. Take this information to media. I want this to come out. That being said, and I am getting so angry because this is touching so many nerves inside me, so many sensitive areas inside me, so many things that I respect like my mother, that I respect like my soul. That is what is being attacked here. Let me decimate it. Here, Sanatana Hindu Dharma stands on three pillars: temple, temple-based communities, very true; the Guru, living embodiment, very true; and the Gurukuls, the education system, very true. In a genocide, terrorist foreign mercenary tribes demolished the temples and destroyed the temple communities. That is the Muslim invasion. He is not naming any names here. I don't have those limitations. So the Muslim invasion destroyed the temples. This is what he is saying. They did destroy the temple, but actually the temple and the temple-based culture is standing back on its feet right now. It is still going strong. It is not like it is totally gone. Temple-based communities are still there, and temples are happening. There are crores and crores of people visiting temples every day. Is Nityananda trying to say that since the temples were destroyed during the Mughal period, this did not happen at all? The Somnath temple was built again and again, 21 times or 17 times, I don't remember the number, 17 times I suppose. It was built again and again, time and again. Finally it was built by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel using the military forces, and it is still standing proudly. Where did our temples go? Where did our temples go? False statement number 1. Count this. Yeah, previously there was one more false statement. So false statement number 2. Count this. Second, later organized by greedy merchants destroyed the Gurukul system, the second pillar, and made India into a colonial empire. Here he is speaking about the Western countries which colonialized India. Okay, and he is saying they destroyed the Gurukul system and made India into a colonial empire. This is true to a certain extent, as in the Macaulay education system came in and it tried to, underline the word, tried to destroy the Indian pride, the pride of the Hindu culture in Indians. But it was not successful due to the efforts of nationalists like Swami Vivekananda, Aurobindo, Subramanya Bharatiyar, Lala Lajpati Rai, Balagangadhar Tilak. All these people, they spoke about the greatness, they revived the greatness of the Hindu community in the real sense. They took it to the masses, including Mahatma Gandhi. Everybody took it to the masses, and that grassroots level work has actually saved the Hindu Dharma already. In a way, we are sitting in a very, very comfortable position today. Although we are facing, some problems, we are facing many problems in fact, but we are sitting in a very, very comfortable position to give it back to them. We are in a position where we could defend ourselves, and that is exactly what Nityananda is totally trying to hide here. Like hiding a whole pumpkin in a plate of rice. This is a Tamil proverb. I don't know if it translated properly. Moving on. So, both these forces were well aided by native extremist Hindu militant forces. The commanders of the barbarian forces were often Hindus. The kings who signed the treaties with the merchants were Hindus themselves. Now, this is a huge misstatement, because the kings who did sign the merchant treaty, the first king who did sign the merchant treaty was Shah Jahan, Muslim Empire. Let that be separate. On the other hand, signing the trade treaties and then losing the country to the traders is not a nefarious act. It may be a foolish act. there have been a lot of infighting amongst the Indian kings. All that is the curse of inside Hindu politics. That is something which we have to address by national integration. That is a different topic. But what he is saying here is the commanders of the barbarian forces were often Hindus. Is this true? Is this true? Let us look at the history. Those who were commandeering the Muslim forces, when he is saying barbarian forces, he is speaking about the first attack on the country, on the nation, and that is by the Muslim forces. Who stood against them? The so-called militant forces that he is speaking about right now. These forces support and these forces venerate Musunuri Nayakar. These forces venerate and support Veera Shivaji. These forces venerate and support Rana Pratap Singh. So these are the people who are standing out against these barbarian forces, and those are the people who are the inspiration for the so-called extreme Hindu forces of India today. And he is exactly twisting the plate around. He is saying, oh well, the commanders of the Muslim army were Hindus, so Hindus were destroying Hinduism. What sort of nonsense is this? What sort of conspiracy theory is this? Actually, I love conspiracy theories because I love debunking them. And right now, Nityananda has put this conspiracy theory in front of me, and I am going to take it apart piece by piece. Moving on. So the kings who signed the treaties, finally, when both pillars are destroyed, extremist Hindu militant forces want to destroy the Guru, that is the last pillar. Now, he is saying the extremist Hindu forces had an agenda to control the entire country with a guruless Hinduism. This is the first statement that he has made. The third paragraph, he is saying that these Hindu forces actually signed the treaties with the colonial merchants, and these extreme forces actually commandeered the barbarian forces of Muslims to destroy the temples. Now, without temples, without gurukuls, without anything whatsoever, what is this Hinduism going to be? First question. Second question, will a extremist Hindu force which wants to control the people with a single religion destroy the religion by commandeering the forces of the Muslims? Was that the agenda? Absolutely not. And third and most important question here is that the Gurukul system of India was destroyed with the Macaulay education system well after the colonial period was halfway through. That is, after the British East India Company handed over the reins of power to the British Crown, Sir John Macaulay was sent to do a research, and he sent a minute to the Parliament for educational reforms in India. Now, please understand this. When Robert Clive came, there was no idea as to whether the education of India is going to be taken up, whether they are going to rule India. No such idea was there, either on the part of the merchants or on the part of the kings who traded with them. So this is a trade transaction which started. The people who came in, they had some cunning aims, and there was infighting going on between the kings. There were many wars like the Panipat war, the Carnatic war that was going on. So what these people did was they started accumulating territory because they wanted to safeguard their goods which have been imported but not sold yet. So they built forts. So it is a huge historical narrative, and that cannot be told in a few sentences, but let me just try to get the gist of it. So here there is no idea, either in the mind of the East India Company merchants or in the mind of the kings who signed the treaties, that the Indian Gurukul system is going to be destroyed by this trade. There is absolutely no idea. And those who commandeered the forces of the Mughals, there are some kings like Raja Todramal and then Raja Man Singh. All these people are Hindus, but they came into this only after the establishment of the Mughal Empire, when they were becoming, they were trying to negotiate, they are trying to parley with the Mughal Empire so that they can save their own kingship, and in order to protect the Hindus in their own land. They did not convert to Muslims. Even though they have aided, they have been ministers, they have been aiding them in taxation and other things, which is condemnable. But we need to understand that the entire thing was done in order to salvage whatever Hinduism was possible within their territory. So in a way, they are spineless, they are powerless to oppose the Mughals using an army. But so what they did was they parlayed with them and they tried to protect whatever territory they had, and they tried to protect the Dharma inside by even giving and taking marriages and doing other things. So they slowly started to somehow protect those small pockets of Dharma. That is exactly what happened with these so-called commandeers. And on the other hand, some Hindu kings like Shivaji, like Rana Pratap Singh, like Musunuri Nayakar, these people were unable to accept the Muslim rule, like Rani Lakshmi Bai, and they started protesting against it. They started protesting against it, and they started opposing using military forces, and they were Hindus. They were Hindus. So this is the Hindu, these are the Hindus, those who opposed the Muslims. Those are the Hindus whom the Indian Hindutva ideologists, whom Nityananda is blaming here, whom Nityananda is calling here as nefarious forces. This inclusive nature of the Hindus is the biggest quality which we have, and now he is trying to throw mud on that entire quality, and he is trying to say that all the attacks that happened on Nityananda, so-called attacks, let us see if they are attacks or not, because I am going to do a separate series on the legal process that Nityananda went through to show you how much leverage he has been given by the Indian legal system. And now he has actually shown, now he has actually thrown out all the goodwill that the Indian legal system has shown him, the Indian judiciary system has shown him, and he is mocking the Indian legal system with this document right now, right here. He is mocking the Indian judiciary by asking asylum in other countries, saying that the Hindus are trying to kill him inside India. And I will be doing a separate series on all the legal leverages he got above and beyond due to the mercy of the court. And then you will understand there were actually no attacks on him. Actually, he was being protected by the law way over and beyond than any normal human being. Because of his image, certain considerations were given. So now he is saying we need to educate ourselves to see the crimes against humanity, and all this humanity is nothing but Nityananda because he did a sex scandal. So he is trying to blow this into an international issue. This narrative is written by the disciples of His Holiness Paramhamsa Nityananda, who have suffered the persecution, whose concern is safety of their Guru. It is a prayer of his disciples to the global community that values human life and dignity to put an end to this persecution. So basically what are they doing here? They are trying to create a scenario in India that which actually does not exist. They are trying to vilify all the forces of India except Nityananda, and they are trying to say, oh, the entire India is out to get Nityananda, come and save him. Now, the problem here is, whom are they asking help to? They are asking help to the international community. And that is why Nityananda keeps on saying in his Holocaust narrative, international community, international community, international community. Let the international community know. That is because he wants to threaten India with diplomatic pressure from other nations into letting him go scot-free. That is his aim here. I am accusing Nityananda of trying to create a false narrative, giving false testimony to the United Nations, and giving fake information about India, speaking lies about India's situation, telling lies about attacks on him, in order to make sure that the international community is threatening India, is forcing India to let him go free. That is his aim here. I am accusing him of treason against the country. He must be hanged for this. Please take this to the media. Please take this to the masses. This is a very important message that has been underrated, that has not been explored in this much amount of information any point of time in the past. Take this to the world. Make every Hindu understand what one guru who has mindless followers can do. We will end this video here. That is the end of the preface. We will go into one chapter by one chapter. तच्चं योरा वृणीमहे गातुं यज्ञाय गातुं यज्ञपतये दैवी स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वञ्जिगातु भेषजं शन्नो अस्तु द्विपते सञ्चतुष्पते ॐ शान्तिः 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 नमः सदसे गुरुभ्यो नमः।